So I was reading a tweet earlier from a real estate influencer guy, which does not always end well. And this tweet was about the trade-offs of living in the suburbs versus the city for raising children. I was mentally prepared for this to be a tweet about how the suburbs were, clearly a better place to raise kids than the city, because that tends to be most people's kind of preconceived notion in the United States. To my surprise, the author's conclusion was that, at least for him right now, raising kids in the city seems like a better option. Describing the hassle of managing kids in cars, he says, the hassle of getting the kids in and out, navigating traffic, finding parking, and then repeating the process at each stop was a real barrier. In New York City, going out for lunch with the kids is as simple as walking a couple blocks. You don't think about it, you just walk out of the lobby and head in any direction. Having your dentist 3 blocks away, walking 6 minutes for a haircut, 4 minutes for ice cream, or 12 minutes to the park is a game changer when you have kids. Comparing it to the suburbs, he says, one time this week we got home and realized we forgot something at the grocery store. In New York, one of us would just take 4 minutes to grab it. In the suburbs, forget it, it's a whole ordeal in comparison. I find that the assumption is often that more space, which is often just more space for cars, is always better for kids. And I can tell you from growing up in the suburbs of Northwest Houston that living in the suburbs as a kid can be a pretty isolating experience, especially if your family is not wealthy enough to give you a car. There's this idea that you have more space in the suburbs, but to be honest, I live in the downtown of a city now, and I have access to much more green space on foot or by bike than I ever did living in the suburbs. What I had more access to in the suburbs were dangerous roads that were unpleasant to walk on or nearby.